Welcome to episode 28 of Newy Tech People. Today we've got Nigel Castelino from Portt. Portt, new company to the Newcastle region. Mate, welcome, Nigel.
Thanks, James. Thanks for having me on the show.
Good to hear. Mate, I've seen your co-founder Andre at a few events around Newcastle. He's doing a really good job putting Portt on the map up here. For the people that don't know of Portt, give us a quick overview of who are you?
So we're a tech company established in Sydney.
Yep.
Actually, originally, probably 10 years back, we started as a consulting company. So it was through Chris and Andre.
Yep.
So they started a consulting company about 10 years ago. And so I joined Single Cell probably 4 years. So 4 years from the start. And then from there we decided, why don't we build a source to contract management system, because we found that there was a niche in the market. We were building a lot of these bespoke applications. And we decided, why don't we do this? There is a niche in the market. So we built a product at that particular stage, and 4 or 5 years on, this is where we are. We actually rebranded to Portt only January this year. So we moved from a consulting background, a consulting company about 10 years ago, and then 5 years ago we moved into a product company.
Yeah, right.
So that's where we've come from. Essentially, so we built a source to contract management system that allows you to manage your process, your procurement processes, your sourcing processes right through the contract and management lifecycle phase.
Yeah, nice. So I guess a lot of, and it's the same as the startup world, a lot of the most successful startups are coming out of sort of scratching your own itch, right? And I guess for you guys being in that consulting space and then merging into a product company or growing into a product company, mate, talk to us about the challenges that might have been, right? Going from a consulting space to having to build product, and I guess that's probably where you came in, right, with your tech expertise.
So it was interesting in the sense that we always put the customer first, like that, from our consulting background. So that was a good thing in a sense. The challenge was trying to manage consulting and the product, because there's obviously this transitional phase that you go through, and we're always trying to kind of move it towards that product phase in terms of revenue and the number of staff that are working on consulting projects and product. And we're now we're pretty much a product company now fully, while we had that long transitional phase. So, that was the difficulty. Or should we actually take this particular project? We had to make those kinds of decisions. This is a consulting project. Should we take that project? Should we go investment to fund our product? I mean, how are we going to fund our product development? So those are the kinds of conversations that we had initially, and we went for let's get that services. Let's take on that services project because it's going to fund our product. But that sometimes doesn't allow us to propel our product as further as it should be. But it's worked well. We've grown organically for a while, and we haven't had to take any investment, which is very different to how some of the other companies have done.
Getting your customers to pay for your product development is fantastic, right? You're working really closely with them, making sure that what you're building's actually got a customer in mind.
Yeah, exactly. I think that consulting background really provided us. It was a huge advantage to us. We especially. Chris and Andre, coming from that consulting background, they really understood the customer really, really well, and that's like really part of our brand. Like the product's there, and we built the product with our consulting background in mind. And they go and really, really understand exactly what the customer's needs are, and because the product's very configurable, we can kind of map those requirements to the product. So it's worked. It's been very advantageous to us.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. And I'm sure there's some other changes internally, obviously, when you go from a consulting company to a technology or a product company, right? It's a completely different type of business model, right?
Yeah, it is. So, In terms of the organization as well, like, so we pump a lot more money into the product space, for example, right? And as opposed to services. So there's a lot more tech processes, a lot more product processes. We have a product manager, like a lot of that stuff we didn't have before. So I guess those are the things that we typically go through.
Yeah, cool. And then from your individual perspective as well, right? I think when you joined, what was your title when you joined?
I don't know if we really had titles when we joined, but yeah, it was because I was subcontracting through a single seller. Was say senior engineer.
Yeah, so senior engineer, right? Growing into the CTO. Yeah, it's a big change. How's that changed for you individually?
Well, it's been very hard to let go of the coding and that and those kinds of bits. But over the last say few months, I've really focused on trying to get our processes right. Focus a lot more on processes. So things like how our product development process is, like our DevOps process, especially with the new product, like we're re-architecting our product from the ground up. So my focus has been on architecture. There's obviously been a little coding, but I'm slowly giving that away because we've got some great engineers and I really don't need to get into that space. But it's really about setting up processes so our we're efficient, like our engineering teams and our platform teams are working very well together so that we can achieve our DevOps dream of we want to deliver high quality software every day. Yeah. Twice a day if we wanted to. That's really been my main focus, and that's going to be a huge part of my focus moving forward. So it's kind of moving away from the coding, which I obviously enjoy, but around people management, teams management, to achieve our goal. I mean, we've got engineers in Vietnam, we've got platform teams in Sydney, we've got another engineering team in Newcastle as well that we've started to set up now. So making sure that our processes are so efficient that all the three teams can get together and again achieve that dream. It's challenging. Obviously, it has its challenges, but it's worked well so far.
On that note, mate, what's the biggest? I'll put some context. Like, there's a lot of I think definitely in the startup space, but also in the SMB space where somebody's in a hands-on technical role and then grows into management, and then you say a developer or another technical role that grows into that management. And what's the biggest challenge that you've had so far in undertaking that? Because I think that's a very real challenge for a lot of technical professionals. Yeah,
look, as I said, I think you have to look at yourself as an enabler. You're not the one who should be doing the coding or any of that. You should obviously try to delegate more. Sometimes it's hard to, because as an engineer, you are too optimistic, right? You think that you can hit these deadlines and you have to try and delegate things. So that's been a challenge, which obviously I've learned, and I think people who go through that journey learn about delegating, but also understanding people's personalities, how they work. In our case, it's understanding culture as well. How the Vietnam culture works with our Australian culture. So it's a lot of those, I guess, high-level management skills that you need to start to develop in order to, I guess, see the output that you really want to see.
Yeah, I completely agree. You mentioned the Vietnam team. I think there was definitely a phase in technology where a lot of companies were looking to outsource development work, and end with mixed success. Yep. Some people have had some roaring success. Other people have tried and failed and then brought it back in-house. Sounds like you've gone through a successful phase. Mate, what would say, let's start with what's the key to success that you think, or the keys to success in building that sort of offshore development team?
So I think the key is one is so we don't call it an offshore team. So because they're part of our company. Yeah. As Newcastle is part of the company, Sydney. So we call, there's 3 cities and all part of one company. So
that's a good starting point. It's probably a mindset perspective.
It's definitely a mindset perspective, and I've been on in previous companies where we've outsourced, and it's definitely been this us and them. Yeah. And that doesn't work. Yeah. It's got to be. It's all one, and we all have one goal. So that's as you said a great starting point. The other thing is understanding culture as well, understanding that sometimes when you got to ask key questions in order to get the answers. And it's different personalities. Perhaps over here you would expect people to be a lot more direct, while say in Eastern cultures it's not so much. So you got to find avenues to try and find feedback. Right. What's really worked for us has been we fly over there quite often. There's always someone over there. 3 or 4 people from our side fly over there. We typically bring a couple of people over here as well. So there's obviously that collaboration going on. We celebrate kind of Vietnamese holidays, like they have their Vietnamese New Year, for example. We have a party over video conference, for example.
Nice.
Those kinds of engagement is really, really important. But also to have a key member, a key team lead over there. So we've got a really important team lead over there that manages the engineers over there. And so they, him and the team over here work very closely together. On a weekly basis to figure out how can we continually improve the engagement of everyone, really, including the team in Vietnam. So it was a challenge initially, of course, and we learned a lot of these things as we went through that journey. And in the end, you also got to think engineers are engineers. So what do engineers want? They want a great culture, a company that's moving forward, and really new tech that they want to work on. And they want to keep learning. They want to contribute to the product. So you can't kind of forget about these other things as well.
I think the part you mentioned there about having that one key contact over there, it's something that I've heard multiple people that have had success talking about, is having that really one single point of contact. When it comes from a technical perspective, you mentioned video conferencing. Do you use tools like Slack or other things for communication?
we used to use Slack, so now we use Teams, but essentially the same thing. Yeah. So we use Teams for collaboration, for video conferencing. If we need to do whiteboard sessions, we can use a whiteboard. Sometimes it's easier just to put a camera on the whiteboard and we're drawing things up. But those are the kinds of tools that we need. So what we found initially with stand-ups, for example, something simple as stand-ups, it was quite difficult because some members are better at communication than others. But their written skills are excellent, right, as opposed to verbal. So we trialed like a stand-up bot, for example, which worked quite well.
Talk to me about that. Right. Go into a little bit of detail on that for me.
Yeah, so we started what's called a stand-up bot. So it's just a bot on say Teams or Slack. That every day at 10 a.m. asks you what you did yesterday, what you did today, what you get. Are there any blockers, etc., etc. Yeah, and then it kind of provides a summary for anyone that wants to read it. So for the product owners, for myself. Yeah. And so that's the way that we were actually doing it initially, which worked quite well. Now we've moved to a more of a, so there's Vietnam team has their own stand-ups, but there are key people there. So like the product owner over there and the team lead and the architect will have a daily video session, for example. So two key contacts there. Key contacts here we'll have a stand-up session with video. Nice. And we're continually refining the process as we go along. So it's been interesting. At different parts in the journey, different things work better than others. Yeah,
I just think there's actual technical little nuances that you guys done and have had success. Other people might be able to get a little bit of learning out of that.
For sure, absolutely. Yeah.
And another thing you just mentioned before. What engineers look for, and you mentioned your technology. Yeah. I know you guys are going through a rebuild, right? Yeah. Mate, talk to me a little bit about that. Let's start with what's the legacy system built on, and then what's the new system and why that changed?
Yeah. So legacy system. So at the moment, I think it's probably going to be one of our last releases on the legacy system in the next few months. But it's been built on SharePoint. Yeah. There's a whole range of issues that you. When I say issues, it's more it's hard to find people with SharePoint skills these days. So because of that, and SharePoint's not really designed for hosting large applications, and our server costs are going up, and there's things around that we want to address, and the fact is, we can't deploy to production every day without an outage. So part of the solution is obviously moving off legacy tech onto new tech, which is ASP.NET Core, running on Docker containers, and orchestrated by Kubernetes within Azure. So leveraging a lot of Azure PaaS services as well, where it makes sense. But certainly Kubernetes, Docker, ASP.NET Core, that's our tech stack, certainly in 2.0. And just how we're leveraging or designing the system from the ground up has been part of my focus in the last 6 months, really kind of researching and seeing how we can do it. So we're 3 months into it, and it's looking brilliant.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. Exciting time then.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Yeah.
Probably exciting from an individual perspective as well, right? Being able to architect something and redesign something, on the technology you want to use, and not being constrained by, legacy systems.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And the thing is, people don't want to work on legacy systems. So, with engineers, they do want to work on new tech stacks. So that's like one of the reasons is we want to attract engineers as well.
Yeah.
Good engineers to work on the new tech stack, and because it's effectively like a greenfield project, there's it's very attractive to those kinds of engineers. So
yeah.
Yeah,
I completely agree. So I think you made mention there, like attracting engineers. Obviously, that's hard work in. And I think there's a big part there for companies to have a little bit of responsibility on talent attraction. Looking at what do we have to be doing to attract the best engineers, or to attract people to join our team. And the fact that you've got that front of mind with the new build and saying, hey, understanding that people are looking to work on new technology, people are looking for greenfield projects for a company that's growing. They're the sort of things that definitely make recruiting into your teams significantly easier.
Yeah, definitely. And that's being, as I said, it's part of the reason that we had to move off. So there's we've got Andre doing a lot of things around Newcastle in terms of, I guess, building a brand. So part of the thing is we're not Google, we're not Atlassian, we're a startup to scale up. So part of the attraction to attract new engineers is, part of our story is that you have the opportunity now to make a huge impact at this point. And make a big impact on Portt's successful future. Sure, you can go to Google and Atlassian, but perhaps you're just going to be an engineer there. But here, you're going to be there working with a couple of people, one of the key members of the team, to move forward. So that's part of the story, I guess. Not just with us, but a lot of the other, startups, scale ups. That's the story that they would sell. That's what's attractive to join them as well.
Yeah, mate, I completely agree. I think, and hey, not everyone's motivated differently, but there is a good amount of people out there that are looking to have the ability to influence, or the ability to actually have a say in what's going on and building. So it's a good thing. So we'll link up in the show, Nate. It's both Portt and your individual LinkedIn profile. So if people are interested in potentially joining the team or finding a little bit more, they can reach out
for sure.
to you.
Just reach out to me, and I'm happy to have a chat, even a coffee. So as I said, because we've got the teams, we're always kind of commuting between Newcastle and Sydney. Suddenly I am commuting every week or every couple of weeks. I'm up here, so I'm happy to just have a coffee. So yeah, absolutely. Nice,
man. Nice. You mentioned also the word startup and scale up just before. What's the biggest challenge that you face going from, I guess, a consultancy turned product company in a startup phase into a genuine scale up now? You're definitely out of that startup phase.
Yeah, definitely. Now it's about growth, hyper growth. So we're no longer about we're just trying to almost, I don't like using the term ends meet. What's the phrase?
Make ends meet.
That's the phrase. Yeah, make ends meet. So we're no longer about that. It's about hypergrowth. So And it's part of the rebuilding of that application as well. Part of the decision around that is, trying to build it so that we can hyperscale, so we can grow within Australia. So that's the real focus at the moment. And so there's obviously decisions that need to be made around, do we take investment? Do we continue to grow organically? So there's a lot of those decisions that we need to make at this particular stage in our life cycle.
Yeah. Very nice. Yeah. Very nice. And it's a bit about Portt, and I think that's a good overview. Mate, you individually, how'd you get in technology back in the days? What sort of...
I probably was a bit late, honestly. But my earliest memory was playing Digger / Pac-Man on the machine. But I probably really got into it when I was in year 8, I think. There was computing studies, and that's when that was my first line of code that I wrote. I can't remember what it was for, but it was, I think, for a game. And that kind of really piqued my interest. Yeah. And that's how I got into it, and then kind of snowballed into, let me just build a chess game and build an over-architected, over-complicated client-server diary, essentially, and then went on from there. So went to software engineering uni, and then...
You did software engineering, was it? And there's University of...
Technology,
Sydney,
yeah. So that was a long course. That was about a 5-year course, and then went into consulting / development, and then joined Portt, I guess. There were a couple of small companies in between, but then joined Single Cell / Portt at that stage.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned 5-year degree.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. Was that in hindsight, how was that degree?
So it's interesting, like the first year was, a lot of maths, physics, a lot of non-programming stuff. It was fun, but perhaps I've never used it since. There were a lot of other courses which were very interesting, like embedded software development, but again, although it was interesting, I never used it. So it really, I think it really depends. Like for me personally, if I had to go back, I would have probably done a 2-year degree.
Yeah.
Maybe just a 1 to 2 year degree and straight into the workforce. What helped me out of the 5-year course was these 2 6-month internships. So I essentially got a year's worth of work experience, and that's where I really learned a lot of my trade. Not just in software development, but dealing with people and so on. But, yeah.
So if you're making recommendations to a young person, let's say they're looking to finish, year 12 at the moment, or year 10 even, they want to go down the dev route. Yeah. Would you say, sign up for a degree and then just place, try to get internships while you're going through there? Is that your recommendation or advice?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you don't want a 5-year course. I think you'd want maybe a 1 to 2 year course. Like it depends on the type of person you are as well. Some people like structure. Mm-hmm. So university provides that structure. There's 4 subjects here, there's 4 subjects here, there's 4 subjects here. Some talented individuals, if they don't have that kind of structure, maybe it's, what do I do? I'll try this, I'll try this, I'll try this.
Yeah.
So it really depends. So I guess my recommendation is, maybe a 1 to 2 year course, but you only get out what you put in. So sure, you're going to do those 4 subjects, but, there's a whole list of MOOCs and online courses, go in with a friend and just develop an app and see what happens. I guess do a lot of extracurricular development just for fun to assist with your growth.
Yeah.
And definitely look at internships, so summer internships and so on, because I think within those 2 years, then you'll have the maximum output. Again, as I said, based on what you put in, but you'll I think come out as a solid graduate engineer, if that makes sense.
Mate, there's 2 things there that spark my interest. Start with one, building some things, either catching up with some friends or doing it yourself, building something, right? For a developer, the fact that you're out there building something, you just learn so much through doing, right? Is that what you're looking for when you're hiring into your team? Somebody that's got, if you're looking to hire a junior or something like that, is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't tend to, I actually don't tend to look at a degree. It's, you have one, you may not, that's fine. Certainly look at experience. But what really piques me, and I was just looking at a resume recently, I'm like, wow, this guy, is working on a mobile app for a friend. Well, that's cool. I would really like to chat to him.
Yeah.
So it's, look, I think that definitely piques my interest, and it separates you from the rest.
I completely agree. The other thing you mentioned was MOOCs. Is there any that you've done personally or you've heard from other people that you would recommend to people?
Yeah, look, it was interesting. Like at university, we did a lot of stuff around software engineering, but I took a course. It was fun. I took a mathematics course on Coursera, I think it was, and also computing complexity, so NP problems and all those kinds of things. But I would recommend go onto Udemy, and if you want to learn a language, go ahead and learn a language. I would also, more important than the language, I would say, is the design and the architecture principles. So I would recommend taking some courses around that. So what helped me was, like, I went to Pluralsight, for example, and undertook a domain-driven design course by a guy called Vladimir Korikov.
Yeah.
And that kind of really sent me down a really interesting route. And a lot of the principles I learned there, started to learn about, say, this concept of CQRS, then microservices, and so it was a journey for me. But it all kind of started with that one course, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
So that's one course I definitely recommend, but there's a whole host of others depending on what you want to do.
I just like the whole concept of lifelong learning, right? And the fact that you're talking to a CTO right now that still invests in that for yourself, right? It's not, hey, I've got to that stage and I'm going to hang my hat and that's me done.
Yeah.
It's you're continually moving forward, learning new things, and even people at your level continue to invest in that. I think it's just a good lesson.
Yeah. I think probably everyone does it these days. Probably no excuse, really. There's so much information.
Yeah.
Right.
I think saying everyone does it might be overestimating though. I think there's still a gap there where people aren't investing in their growth. But definitely the people that are moving forward, the people that are getting those top jobs, the people that are working on some really new technologies and new projects are the people that are investing in themselves and investing in that growth.
Yeah.
It's hard to move forward with new technologies if you're not prepared to learn.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. It's a lifelong learning, right? You're if you like university forever.
Yeah, I agree. And there's different avenues, right? Whether it be mentorship and learning from somebody, or we're looking at online courses or parts thereof with university courses.
Yeah,
a lot of universities are starting to offer courses that you can take, and you don't have to take the full degree as well.
Yeah, for sure. There's all these micro degrees, which are interesting. Actually, one thing you mentioned about mentorship, I've like recently, spoken to one of the persons who's kind of become my mentor, and I would actually recommend that. I think you were asking before about what your recommendation would be, like moving from the senior engineer to I guess head of tech, senior CTO level. I would definitely recommend getting a mentor who's gone through that process, and that's helped me immensely. Some of the things he's taught me, I've started to implement now, like getting off coding, stop touching code, get at a high level. Read some interesting books like The Hard Thing About Hard Things. He suggested high output management. So there's a lot of kind of management books that.
Hard Thing About Hard Things is a great book. I don't want to cliche, couldn't put it down, but that was one of the books that I pushed through pretty quickly. I was quite engaging. Yeah,
it was, and I think I like the fact that it was more. There's no real plan.
Yeah.
you know, to running a business. There's a whole bunch of plans, obviously, but sometimes you just got to do what you got to do to get through it.
It's just real. That was the other thing, because I've read a lot of management and a lot of other type of educational books, and theories are fantastic, right? And it's really good to have some base concepts that you can lean on, but it's also really interesting to hear from someone that's gone through it. And it's not a straight line.
No, it's definitely not.
Things are difficult. People make mistakes. Even the most successful people, like you, made significant mistakes throughout that process, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Could things been an easier ride? Definitely. But in the end, they've had a wealth of success. But it also gives people, it gave me insights and probably just confidence that we all have our good days and our other days. We'll make good decisions and bad. Everyone's learning. Everyone's trying to get better.
No,
and
definitely.
Even people that are having that sort of level of success, their decisions are even magnified, right? Their poor decisions are turn into mini disasters. So.
Like I really found it interesting, that book, when he said, he did a survey with a bunch of CEOs and asked the question of, what did you do that made you such a great CEO? And all the great CEOs kind of had this common answer, said, I just never quit. Right? I mean, it's very simple, but it's, like sometimes it's, you just go through this unplanned phase and, something hits you, and what do? You have to find a solution. And you just never quit. It's not about, I implemented this process, I implemented this process. I never quit and went forward. So that, I really enjoyed that book for those kinds of
I like that. I like that. Just that concept as well. I think not only for tech professionals, but especially for tech professionals, is that finding a way. Not all, the solution hasn't always been, done by somebody else, but there's situations that you've got to find a way, and the best tech professionals will find a way. It might not be the perfect way, but you'll find a way, and maybe you have to go back and re-architect it or down the track or something else, but you'll find a way to get it done. And then you look at improving upon that in time, but finding a way, somebody that's can actually think outside the square and has that bit of grit about them to get it done, that makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
On that note, any other books that you would recommend to people?
So if you're into architecture, design, so there's Eric Evans' book, which is Domain Driven Design, written in 2003, but still very much applicable. Vaughan Vernon, it's about implementing that domain driven design. So at the moment, I've kind of just ordered the High Output Management from Andy Groves. A mentor recommended me to read that, so I'll see how that goes. So as I said, a lot of the last 6 months has been around that architecture, design, and now slowly moving into, I guess, the management phase.
Nice. Mate, any other forms of education that you look at outside of books? Is there a podcast, or is there somebody on Twitter or something like that? Any other recommendations that you could make to people?
Look, so for podcasts, I typically listen to, .NET Rocks, for example, which is it's quite engaging. It's funny, but it's quite informative. So we typically are in the Microsoft Azure space. So, there's Azure Fridays that I typically look at, and for some fun, there's Accidental Tech, which is kind of more Mac, but it's just a bit of fun to listen to. And typically it's I just read a whole bunch of blogs pretty much every day.
So, talk to me about any blogs you recommend.
Look, Vladimir Korokov is again, for that, his blog is called The Enterprise Craftsman. So a lot of because he kind of set me down this path, I would say. So I kind of look for important information from him. In terms of other blogs, there's TechCrunch. You can, just in terms of daily news. Yes, there's a few others that I can't remember, but I'll probably provide it to you.
No, that's not a problem. We'll link all those up in our show notes as well. But I agree. I love people that can write books or blogs or whatever that are timeless, that have those really cool concepts that are nearly timeless and they're still relevant X amount of years down the track. It's really good to come across those.
No, absolutely.
Very nice, mate. From a productivity perspective, in that role as CTO. productivity or software perspective,
Yeah.
what are the tools that you use to get through your day, through your week? And it could be, well, let's start with productivity and then just other tools. You've mentioned Teams before, but any other tools that you could recommend to people? I think everyone's always looking for better ways to operate their day or their week or their team.
Yeah, look, actually within our own company, we have some, like, I can think of two people who really do these things really, really well. And I mean, we had actually, they present the session to us. So seeing what we do is, and I typically follow this particular process where I organize, like, I plan for the week.
Yeah.
So say on a Monday morning, what's my week going to look like? And so what we use is, or what I use is Rike. It's just a to-do list, but it's a shared to-do list amongst our whole company. So I say, again, I want to complete this by Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. This is what I want to do today. And then tick things off, try and break it down as much as possible, because you get that feeling of, I ticked it off, excellent. So I typically get an early, plan my day, and then focus on trying to get those sorted. One of the things is trying to take into account meetings during the day. Like, half the day's gone, you're really not going to complete this stuff. So those are the kinds of productivity. We use Rike, but that's the strategy I use for getting through my day and getting through your week. And you have to always assume that things are going to get pelted at you for the week. So what's your high priority for the week, and what things that could slip perhaps into next week. So that's a strategy I use anyway. In terms of tools for the organisation, we have Teams. We've got Rike, as I said, but that's a shared. It's personal, but a shared list as well. And so we've got key dates on there where, say the platform team has this security patching on this particular day, or this release on this particular day. We review it at our all hands at the start of the week, so everyone understands that these are the key dates for the next week. So those are the kind of tools that we use organisation wide anyway. Nice.
You've obviously come a long way from where you were back right now.
But
back in the days, if you had to change things up or give some advice to a younger version, any key advice that you're like, I wish I knew that back in the days?
I think things are always good in hindsight. I probably would say, just don't worry about what people think or what's going on. Just do your own thing. I think maybe when you're at that particular age, it's just natural, really, to I guess to feel pressure from what other people think. But just don't worry about what other people think, and just do your thing. I would also say kind of be more purposeful with your decisions around that stage. I mean, I was there for 5 years. I was at uni 5 years, so I would definitely cut it out 2 years. That would have been my first decision, and second would have been doing, I guess, more extracurricular stuff around software development. So that would be my advice to my younger self. This is taking me back a decade or so. Whether I still would heed that advice is a different. I probably would still ignore it. So I don't know.
Who's this old guy telling me what to do?
Exactly. Go back into the future.
So where can people find you? We mentioned you're building a team here in Newcastle. That's going to continue to grow as Portt grows. So we'll link you up so people can get in touch. But mate, where can people find you? What's the easiest way?
LinkedIn's probably best.
Just
ping me on LinkedIn, just via a personal message, or if you want to connect with me, that's not a problem.
Cool.
So I'm more than happy to just catch up, especially I'm down here every couple of weeks. So I'm always catching up with different people. As
you're on Parry Street now as well, working on we're sitting in Inkston at the moment, but you're working only across the road. So, you'd probably be doing a coffee either at the Edwards or the Sherwood.
Well, Edwards just opened up, so So now they've got competition. Nice. Got competition. That's
very good, mate. Well, thank you again for your time.
Thanks very much. I appreciate it.